Hello everyone and welcome to a new video from Your Overwatch. I'm Eddie the Chump and today we'll be getting to grips with the new Roadhog. Now some of you might think, well he's just the same but now his hook isn't ridiculous. Well actually, how the hook behaves now shapes how he should be played and how his role, much like the new D.Va, has become more clear cut and defined. In this guide we'll start with what hasn't changed and then move on to the more nuanced adjustments that people might not have thought of. Old hog, new hog. Let's start with the basics. Hitting hooks requires the same tracking skill set that it did before. Tracking your targets as you use the ability is still the most reliable way to secure a kill. In fact, in more straightforward examples with nothing in between you and the target, the hook is actually in a much better place. Problematic heroes like Ana are brought right in front of you instead of the strange mid-distance placing she had before. This is true across the cast and makes hitting a money hook on a high value target much more consistent. A lot of the same engagement rules still apply too. Never be the first Roadhog to hook another. This will almost always result in your death. The most important factor is still the fact that he retains his ability to insta-kill every 6 seconds, so by definition he's never going to be irrelevant or bad. He's now just more refined, and in the next sections we'll discuss why. Geometry matters, refined positioning. A big part of playing the new Roadhog effectively is realizing that as the player you have to be way more conscious of what you are doing and where. Before you could get hooks that dragged people around corners, over terrain and from high ground with relative ease, and importantly in a blind manner that exposed the Roadhog player to as little risk as possible. This is no longer the case, so the important lesson to take from this information is that geometry matters. The map you're playing, the physical objects that surround you, and perhaps vitally, the geometry surrounding your intended target. Roadhog now plays like items of cover and line of sight actually mean something. Because of this, where you position yourself as Roadhog is significantly more important than it was before. Just the act of attempting a hook is now inherently more risky, as to achieve a successful one, you must maintain line of sight, the keyword there being maintain. If you can see a target for long enough for a hook to complete, you're also in their line of sight and potentially their teammates as well. The Roadhog footsie battle has evolved. Every engagement has a key position that you have to be aware of and take control of. For example, Li Zhang when looking over from the point to over the bridge. Now opponents can use the rocks here to break your hook and evade death. If you position yourself as Roadhog in the right spot in a team fight, he commands a death radius that can set up your team for the win. But be aware that more risky or flanky plays are compounded by the challenges the given terrain might provide. A great example is point 1 defense on Hollywood. A lot of Roadhog players like to use the side room to try and hook an attacker from the flank. But now because of the line of sight required, any hook from here is subject to a number of factors that can result in failure. The room is small, the opening is too, plus the cars outside provide useful cover. Enemies don't have to do much to avoid being hooked here, and the risk to you and your teammates' defense is high if you get caught out and focused down in this position. A key positioning factor to think about is that high ground is great for him, same as it ever was, but on the flip side, hooking targets from below is now much less viable. They have to really mess up for your hook to actually grab them and pull them down. You must also be much more aware of the cover the enemy can use against you. A McCree, for example, can jiggle peek a Roadhog using cover without much fear of being dragged around a corner. As Roadhog you have to be aware of this, and attempt to change the angle so it's more in your favour and they cannot evade you. How to take engagements now. There is a misconception about Hook 2.0 in that people believe they are much safer than they actually are against Roadhog. In these clips we show it is still possible for Roadhog to hook targets over cover and off high ground. What the change does do is make it much less likely because people are either moving back and forth, in and out of cover, or the Roadhog is himself moving, making a break in the line of sight much more likely. If you're the Roadhog and someone is not aware of you, you can still perform miracles of time and space. It's just that it's much less likely than before. As a general rule, if a target is making a dash for cover, your hook stands a much lower chance of connecting the later you leave it. This Hollywood clip shows the type of decision making you have to make as a Roadhog player. Here the Ana spots Roadhog and attempts to use the cart for cover, hoping to prevent herself in getting hooked. Because she was a sufficient distance away from the cart and the hog has the high ground, this represents a great value play. There's no way she could have made herself safe in time. This is in direct comparison to this next clip where Road attempts to hit a low percentage hook onto the same Ana who is now on high ground. As we see, she does not have to do much to break line of sight as the angle is already against the Roadhog. As soon as she spots him, she backs off. The hog even jumps to make that angle a bit better, but as he falls, she is just far enough away. The hook breaks and he has to wait another 6 seconds before another attempt. The lesson is, you have to figure in more complex calculations for success. Distance between target and cover, how fast they're moving, whether they know you're there, and so on. All of this in the pursuit of that insta-kill value. This is why positioning is important. You have to put yourself in the right place to give yourself the best chance of landing as many successful hooks as possible. This next clip from Anubis shows how waiting for an opponent to peek out of cover instead of trying to stop them reaching it can pay off. Here the Hog is waiting on his hook cooldown, and instead of rushing it, he waits until the soldier peeks without a chance of getting back into safety and punishes him for it. The patience and discipline got rewarded instead of whiffing and waiting for his cooldown again in a vulnerable position. In short, Hook 2.0 requires you to rely on better judgment and getting yourself in a spot where you can guarantee value, rather than hooking Lucio from Ilios onto King's Row. Roadhog Redux. Instead of being an easy answer to so many different challenges, Roadhog now feels like the crowd control tank he was arguably supposed to be in the first place. His ability to frontline brawl is still good because of his right click, which is still fantastic for breaking Rhine shields and hasn't lost its ability to one-shot a squishy, etc. In many ways he's now the master of the death ball. Use him to win the Rhine shield battle and then crowd control and eliminate everything in sight. A good way to think of the new Roadhog is that now he's effectively a skill shot hero. He requires more discipline, his role is more defined, and like the rest of the tank category, where you put yourself to exploit his kit is a central factor in your success. I hope you liked the video. If you did, please don't forget to leave a rating. If you'd like to hear us talk about something specific, please don't hesitate to leave it in the comment section below. If you would like to see us tilt live for your enjoyment, please check out our Twitch channel, which is linked in the description. Also, please follow the Your Overwatch Twitter. It's where you can find updates about new videos and streams. I've been Eddie the Chump, and until next time,